Shalom. Welcome to our inspiration in your inbox for Erev Tisha B'Av, Tafshin Ayin Daled 5774. Tomorrow, Tisha B'Av, is the most difficult, sad, challenging day of the year. Perhaps we can refer to it as the day of silence. Why is it the day of silence? Because the Zohar teaches us, the Holy Zohar says that when the Jewish people were in Egypt, when they were in Mitzrayim, they had no voice, they had no words. Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Almighty, I can't speak. How can I go back and speak to Paro if we are in exile and we don't have a voice or language? Tisha B'Av is the day when we experience exile in its most intense form. It is the most difficult expression of this concept of not having a voice, of not having the ability to speak. It is the day of silence. It's the day when we find it difficult to formulate words to describe tragedies of centuries and millennia, and especially this year, to describe the feelings and the challenges of Am Yisrael, and especially the families of the three boys over the last many weeks in Israel. How do we relate to this day of silence? We need to perhaps consider the origins of how this Tisha B'Av silence came to be. The Gemara tells us in the end of Maseches Tanis that Tisha B'Av was chosen for a specific reason as this day of silence, as this day of exile. Because on that night, the night of Tisha B'Av, Vayivku ha'am balayla hahu. The Jewish people in the desert cried after the return of the spies. And says the Gemara in Daf Chav Tes Amud Aleph in Maseches Tanis, Am Rabbi Yochanan oso hayom erev Tisha B'Av haya. That evening was the evening, tonight, of Erev Tisha B'Av. Amalam HaKadosh Baruch Hu atem bechisem bechia shel chinam va'ani kovea lachem bechia ledoros. You cried tears of nothingness, of naught. I will give you a generations of crying, and that will be the experience of Tisha B'Av. Well, how did we fall into this trap? We fell into this trap by listening to what Chazal describe as the Lashon Hara, the evil speech, in this case about Eretz Yisrael, of the Meraglim. We trace back all of these exiles, the specific date of Tisha B'Av, to the Lashon Hara, to the evil speech that was spoken and listened to. Perhaps one way that we can be misakein, we can fix and mend this breach, this difficulty, we can add words in a place where there are silence, is to fix our words. As we prepare for Tisha B'Av, we're going to be preparing with food for fasting. We're going to have our kinos booklets. We're going to have our low benches. But perhaps one of the most important things that we need to prepare is to prepare for the silence of Tisha B'Av. Not so much the silence of the weeping, of the Bechia Ledoros, but thinking back to the original Chet, the Chet HaMeraglim, the Chet of Lashon Hara. How we use our words. Perhaps it's a big challenge to be Shomer Piv, to watch our language over the course of the year, and not speak Lashon Hara or Rechilas, but perhaps we can set for ourselves a goal for this Tisha B'Av, for tonight and tomorrow, the Bechia Ledoros, the crying that we're experiencing, to think back to the source of Lashon Hara and consider for ourselves how we're going to use our speech over the next few hours. Hopefully in this merit of being considerate and careful about our speech, of not speaking Lashon Hara during this Tisha B'Av, Tafshin Ayin Daled, we will merit to undo the damage of those terrible sins of the Chet HaMeraglim, to turn around the Bechia Ledoros into a Bechia Shel Tzchok, into something that is crying of laughter. We will have the words back to say Kol Sason v'Kol Simcha, the joy of celebration in Yerushalayim HaKodesh, B'Binyana B'Meher V'Yameinu.